Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and this is the channel where I went to business school so you didn't need to, and today we are talking about Sofi Technologies SOFI stock and Palantir Technologies PLTR stock. In today's stock news updates, we're first going to talk about how Sofi Technologies is going to continue to fight against the current market sentiment, which is overall very bearish. So we're going to be going over the latest news updates and price predictions for Sofi Technologies to determine how long it's going to be pressing against the current bear market and when it could potentially surge up in price. Then we're going to talk about Palantir's PLTR stock, if we should buy Palantir Technologies because it's actually showing off its software development solutions specifically for its Apollo platform. And then lastly, we're going to look at the DCF model for Palantir Technologies, which will actually tell us whether or not the company is undervalued or not. And by this specific model, we are actually going to calculate why the PLTR stock is currently 28% undervalued right now. So for more Sofi Technologies and Palantir Technologies videos, remember to go and smash that like button right now, comment down below your thoughts about these two companies, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's jump right into today's stories. So if you didn't know, Sofi Technologies is a fintech or financial technology company that offers an all-in-one inclusive digital app to their customers that will offer them anything they need in terms of financial services and or financial products. Currently, the SOFI stock price is trading for around $6.30, which is below the most bearish price target among analysts, which is $10. The average price consensus among professionals is $14.35, so this means that we could literally double our money in just the span of 12 months because these are 12-month stock price targets. And then lastly, we have the most bullish and positive price target, which goes all the way up to $22 per share. So overall, it's looking pretty bullish for Sofi Technologies and their SOFI stock. However, the bearish market sentiment is keeping this stock low, and it could potentially even fall further. You see, Sofi Technologies has literally been pressing up against the bearish pressure and the overall stock market, which is falling right now, and this means that the SOFI stock is going to fall down with it. The stock has already lost around 61% of its value just in the year of 2022, and it's down around 75% since their 52-week high. Bloomberg actually reported that the two sectors that were hit hardest during this market downtrend are the financial services sector and the technology sector, both of which have stocks that we are actually tracking right now. So for instance, Sofi Technologies would fall under the financial services sector, and Palantir Technologies would fall under the technology sector. And according to Bloomberg, the financial services sector has fallen around 7.2% as a whole, which is actually a massive drop for an entire sector to fall. And then for technology, it's fallen around 6.9%, which is again absolutely staggering and very dramatic. More bad news would be that Sofi Technologies is going to see a further cut in their overall student loan refinancing market, which is a large portion of Sofi Technologies' revenue. Not because necessarily of the student loan moratorium, even though that is a huge contributor to the SOFI stock falling, but rather, if we look into the college admissions lately, specifically data coming from the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, apparently college admissions have fallen by almost 1 million since 2020. And as The Atlantic reports, particularly this is a decline in male students. And let's not forget the rising interest rates, which are also causing massive growth companies such as Sofi Technologies and Palantir Technologies to pull back during this current stock market environment. Sofi Technologies, in my opinion, does have the ability to absolutely surge in the future because they are diversifying their revenue sources and fundamentally the company is extremely strong. However, lately and probably until the end of 2022, we are going to see major volatility in the general stock market, which is going to impact the SOFI stock price. So if you're not willing to hold this company for at least 2 years, this may not be the company for you. But putting that aside, fundamentally and financially, Sofi Technologies is doing very well. They have their earnings report coming up on May 10th, which I will do an analysis video on so we can see where Sofi Technologies is actually performing compared to their competition. I also want to point out that investors are not fully aware of the growth potential that Sofi Technologies actually has. They are growing their revenues at around a 40% or higher compounding annual growth rate, which is absolutely phenomenal, and this could invigorate the overall SoFi stock price. However, even with that being said, SoFi stock is going to be for more risk-tolerant investors and not risk-averse investors. It's also for long-term investors, because if you are not planning to hold this company over the next couple of years, this is probably not going to be a very wise investment. I would always encourage you to do your own research into the fundamentals and financials behind SoFi Technologies, because overall I think their management is very solid, they have very strong growth projections, and they are diversifying their revenue sources, and they're supposed to become profitable or projected to become profitable in 2024. So that's around a year and a half from right now. But with that being said, let's move on to Palantir Technologies to determine whether or not Palantir Technologies is a buy, as long as you are not already overexposed to the stock. Many investors and analysts actually think that we could experience a PLTR stock turnaround this year. Now, we will find out where the market wants to put the PLTR stock after their earnings report, which is going to be on May 9th, because right now the PLTR stock trades for around $10.70, while the most bearish negative price target, according to analysts, is $10. The average price consensus is $15.60, while the high-end bullish price target is $25.30 per share. And although the PLTR stock can fall further down in the short term, that's not to say that this is not going to be a phenomenal growth company in the future. Again, this is going to be another long-term holding play, but it's not good to overexpose yourself to a single company. Always make sure you are going to be diversified and that you are risk tolerant, because these are risky stocks. If you didn't know, Palantir Technologies is a big data and analytics company that serves both commercial clients as well as government enterprises by giving them autonomous software management solutions. And the overall market is actually teeming with organizations and companies that want new AI technology to manage their various solutions and systems. Surprisingly, the PLTR stock price has been trading around or even close to their 52-week lows, which could indicate that this could be a good buying opportunity. However, with the current stock market volatility, I do think we could see another dip in the PLTR stock. However, some good news and a positive catalyst that has come out as of late was a press release that said that Palantir revealed their new suite of products, which are going to be available on Palantir's Apollo platform. The company, which is Palantir, describes their Apollo platform as the platform that updates their other operating systems. The chief architect and the head of the Apollo platform at Palantir Technologies says that Apollo enables software engineering teams to encode the preconditions and the expectations of their software next to the code itself, and enables the non-linear rollout processes across complex deployment targets. So basically, Apollo allows software developers to focus on new feature development, according to this article. And this is going to be very bullish, especially for institutions and organizations as well as agencies that are already using Palantir's other platforms, which would include their Foundry platform as well as their Gotham platform. And I personally think that their commercial segment is going to be the new bread and butter of this company, and while the government revenues are going to give the company stable revenues, the actual growth of this company is going to be attributed to the commercial growth of this company. Overall, this is very good news, because this means that Palantir Technologies is expanding their business model. They are broadening their horizons, which is absolutely fantastic news. So as Palantir Technologies continues to innovate on their autonomous software management solutions and their operating systems, this is going to be extremely lucrative for the company as a whole, and this is something that I can't wait to see the company scale over the long term. Therefore, investors should prepare for stock market volatility in the PLTR stock, but there is the potential for the PLTR stock to have a turnaround even despite this current bearish market that we are seeing right now, which could be a good buying opportunity as long as you are not overexposed to the PLTR stock already. Overexposed, in my opinion, would mean that the current allocation of the funds or capital and or money that you have invested into the PLTR stock should not be more than 5% of your overall money in your portfolio. So if I have a $100,000 portfolio, I am not going to spend more than $5,000 on the PLTR stock as an initial investment. However, in the end, is the PLTR stock undervalued or overvalued? undervalued. If it's undervalued, it means that we should buy it right now because it's trading at a discount compared to what the company should actually be trading at. However, if it's overvalued, that would actually indicate a sell, that we should sell the PLTR stock. So which is it? Well, in multiple previous videos, we have estimated and calculated the intrinsic value of the PLTR stock, and we do this by using the discounted cash flow model. And I also use a plethora of different ratios that I've talked about in previous videos. However, if you're not familiar with this process, we are going to project the company's value based off of their future cash flow that they plan to generate. So we are calculating the present value of the company based on all of the cash it will generate further in the future. And we are going to do this using the DCF model. Now, before we do this, I do want to say that the DCF model is not the end-all be-all, and it can be wrong. It's just a guide to give us a general view about where the company is headed in the future. So to begin, we are going to estimate the next 10 years of cash flow that the company is going to bring in, and in my opinion, Palantir has fantastic cash flow. We are also going to anticipate that this cash flow, or free cash flow, is going to be shrinking at a slow rate over the long term, which is something very uncontroversial because literally every single company is basically going to experience this. And then lastly, we're going to make one more assumption, and we're going to assume that a dollar today is more valuable than a dollar in the future. And the reason for this is because of inflation. So on screen here, you're going to see the leveraged free cash flow in millions of dollars, the growth rate, as well as the present value discounted by 6.1%, and we'll talk about that 6.1% later in the video. So as you can see, we have 2022, 2023, and then 2024 is slightly cut off here, so let me actually turn this so we can see. And we are using analysts' projections out to 2024, and then from then on, we are going to take it into our own hands and estimate it out to what the company is supposed to bring in, at least based off of their historical data. So we're going to estimate this out all the way until 2031. So with this data, after adding all of the free cash flow up, their present value of 10-year cash flow, also known as PVCF, which is around $8 billion, which is going to help us with these formulas. And if you want to see the formulas on screen, you can see them right here. Feel free to do your own math and even have your own assumptions when you do these calculations. This is just going to be a conservative calculation like we said earlier. Well, by skipping over the very boring math, we're just going to take $31 billion, and then we're going to divide it by the number of outstanding shares right now. And then that's going to give us a price target, or a fair value, of $15.12, which is actually very close to the average price target among analysts right now. So although the current stock price is trading at around $10, the actual fair value or intrinsic value of the company is around $15.12, which means that yes, Palantir Technologies is around 27 to 28% undervalued depending on how far the stock price falls. Now, I do want to say that the DCF model does not consider the possibility of cyclical data, and it also doesn't take into consideration the future capital requirements of the overall company. So this should not be taken in isolation and does need to be compared to other ratios. The DCF model, like we said earlier, is not the be-all end-all in determining whether a company is undervalued or overvalued. However, it is a very good metric that we should use in our toolbox to determine if a certain company is worth an investment. So if you haven't invested into the PLTR stock and you're willing to hold this company for at least 5 to 10 years for a long-term gain, and you are not going to overexpose yourself by over 5% of your overall portfolio allocation, this could be a good investment opportunity, but always make sure to do your own research. On the other hand, we have the SOFI stock price, which you would only really need to hold for 2 years until the company becomes profitable, and then you could really see where the company is at. Both of these companies do have earnings reports coming up. Sofi Technologies is on May 10th, and Palantir Technologies is on May 9th, so look out for videos about that. But with that being said, go and smash the like button right now, subscribe if you are new, comment your thoughts down below about the SOFI stock and the PLTR stock, and I will see you in the next YT video.